BC Autism Families. Did you know that by March 2027, AFU will be gone forever? The money you depend on to support your child will no longer be accessible. It will be replaced by 3 programs: the benefit, the supplement, and the community centers. Today, we'll be talking about the supplement and whether you qualify for the supplement and how much you can plan for.
And the reason why we are filming this for you is because the government isn't giving you the full, direct truth, and we're going to reveal it to you today. I'm Steph, founder of Awesome Match Autism Services. I'm here with my co-host today, Angela. We are both RDI consultants, relationship development intervention, and parents of kiddos on the spectrum. We're here today to walk you through the supplement. And so, what is the supplement, Angela?
So the supplement is different from what the benefit is. So we've got a podcast on what the disability benefit is and if you qualify for that. The supplement is based off of if your child has an approved disability tax credit and it's income tested. So that means it will be based off of your net income, your household net income.
And here's the one thing that determines whether you get the money or not. It's not your child's diagnosis and it's not their support level. And it's not which pathway they're on for the benefit, which is the first one we kind of talked about.
Right.
It's just one piece of paper. As Angela mentioned, it's the federal disability tax credit. Your child needs to have an approved DTC. That's it. And if they don't, $0, not reduced, 0. It's not retroactive. And no, I'll apply later and get it back. The clock is ticking right now. We do want to get you started in having that approved disability tax credit if you don't already have it. Okay, so quick check-in, parents. Before we go any further, just ask yourself, do you already have a disability tax credit approved? And if you do, have you checked to see when it expires? I hear that most of them expire around the 5-year mark.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus is about the 5-year mark.
Some at 3 years. So definitely take a peeker and see when it expires. Now, for the purposes of this, just to conclude that, the disability supplement comes in July, and it has to do with 2026 DTC approval. So you'll want to try and look and see if your DTC expires in 2027 or after. I would say if it expires in 2026, definitely jump on it right away and try and get your
Don't wait. Don't wait. We want to make sure that you're receiving the money that you're deserved.
And we'll get into it a little bit later, but there is quite a wait time. So who qualifies, Angela? Let's kind of go over the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, so like we said, the 2 qualifications for the disability supplement is that you have an approved disability tax credit.
Right.
It's income based, so you have to be under a certain threshold to even be considered.
The threshold is really kind. I mean, they're saying $200,000 if you make under $200,000 in your household a year that you'll get the supplement. So that sounds optimistic, doesn't it?
It does, but when you're looking at a dual income family, that easily, a family can easily be making over $100,000 a year, and what you originally got was the $6,000 or the $22,000 based off of your child's age.
Yeah.
That's going to significantly drop.
Yeah, it is. And the CRA has just recently on March 10th here made accessible a calculator that you can calculate.
Right.
What we've noticed in this, and I'm glad that you bring that up when you say the dual income families, guys, is, well, we're not going to get into too much about how much you're going to make. We're going to put that link below so you can find out. It takes you less than 10 seconds to put in your information and find out how much you're going to get for the supplement. Just a quick spoiler alert. If you make under $50,000 a year, you're going to get the full amount, which is $500 per month. That $500 per month is given to you at the same time as your child tax benefit, so the 20th of every month, starting in July 2027. Here is the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
The kicker is, as Angela mentioned, dual income households. For you parents that are single parents, if you are sharing custody more than 40% of the time with your ex-partner, you and your ex-partner need to individually qualify by income for this. And whatever you would qualify for is then cut in half. For example, if you are a single parent who makes under $50,000 per year because you are a single income household, you qualify for the full amount, which, as we just said, is $500. However, because you share custody of your child more than 40% of the time with your ex-spouse, now you're getting half of that 500 per month. So what was 500 per month is actually 250 to you. And then your ex-spouse, the other parent, has to then qualify. If they make under 50,000 a month or 50,000 a year, sorry, they'll get the 250 a month as well to equal the 500. But say they make $100,000 a year, they may only get I'm not even too sure. I'd have to look at the calculator, but can you look at the calculator quickly for me, Angela? If a parent makes 100,000 a year and has the shared custody, what would they get? So we'll figure this out for you guys. But here's the point: is if you are a parent and you do share custody and you are sharing this supplement, please take into consideration the conversations you have to have with your ex-spouse ahead of time. So we're looking into $166 a month. So parent A would get 250, parent B would get 166. That's not the full 500. I think the barrier here is a lot of, in a perfect world, when we're separated and we have ex-spouses who we have to raise children with, we get along and we're making really good decisions in the best interest of our children together. Realistically understanding these parents, myself included, going through and navigating the family law, and what a lot of parents are going through is if they do share custody and they have to make decisions in the child's best interest, this is a tough one.
It's going to be incredibly hard for these families because not only will this amount get automatically deposited into your bank account, you now need to come together as a couple to make decisions on your child's therapy.
On how you're going to use that.
And we know, a lot of struggles with different parenting strategies, different parenting styles, and to have to agree that, hey, we're both going to use the supplement towards our child's fund or therapy, that's going to be tough.
And if I may, I'm going to say it from a service provider perspective. And we were talking about this earlier this morning. And I'm saying this with absolute admiration and love. I have been a single parent before, and I have navigated actually 50-50 parenting before. So my heart is just so attached to this in so many ways. So please understand when I say this. If a single parent comes to me at the end of this in March and their AFU is gone and they're like, but my supplement's coming in July, and I get the max 250, and I'm hoping my ex also contributes, with all my heart, with every single beat of my heart, I'm going to want to help that child and that family. This is a parent who is now in a single income household, the most financially vulnerable household with a vulnerable child who needs help, and they are receiving half of what they should have. And they're not in control of that other half without the mercy of that other spouse. Now, me as a service provider, I have to consider, am I able to provide services at that amount? Not only am I able to, but can I take the risk of hoping that both parents have the ability to pay their invoices every month? Do I want to have a conversation with parent A who is paying their half every month and say, sorry, but parent B isn't? And what is that result for the child? Do I, as a service provider, need to have two contracts with two parents, stop the therapy half the time? This is just a whole new barrier that they didn't mention before.
And that's if they even...
Why did they not mention this?
And that's even if they decide to use the funding towards therapy. You can never fault a family, especially if they are a low-income family, and they're getting, say, $250 or $500 a month, and they have to choose, am I going to use this extra money towards paying my rent or taking my child to an SLP?
I think I got to be frank here, guys, in saying that we are sharing our perspective. My perspective is I'm really kerfuffled here, guys, because what I don't understand is they're not saying these things directly. They're framing it to you guys as you guys are getting more money. The government is giving you more, and there's more flexibility, more. And it's like, but there's more barriers.
Huge barriers.
Get the DTC if you don't have it. Talk to your ex-spouse if you have a great relationship, and hopefully you guys can make a great decision. Talk to service providers and hope that they can survive this change to be here for you and be able to have and accept those barriers. there's so many questions that they're not directly answering. And I got to tell you, Angela, I was really upset last night when I saw it, only because my heart goes out to these single parents, as someone who has experienced that phase in my life.
Yeah.
And when what upset me the most is it did not say it on the supplement page. It did not say that if you have shared custody, you have to share the supplement. You found out by going to their calculator. We did not know that ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we've been educating ourselves on these 3 programs
For a
since
month
they announced
straight.
it on February 10th. And we are now, are we St. Patrick's Day today?
Yeah.
Oh, March 17th. All right, St. Patty's Day. But I'm just saying, like, we are highly educated on this. We have sunk in our heart and soul and trying to understand this to be able to say this for you. And when I found out last night in preparing for this podcast, and I found out last night that they're adding in that extra caveat. And I can see it because they're saying, hey, it's the same thing as the child tax benefits. Child tax benefits is also shared if you have shared custody. I can see that. But what I'm not understanding is they're framing it that this is something that can continue therapy.
Yes.
Hey, guys, guess what? You can continue with your service providers. We're giving you the same amount, no problem.
What service provider is going to continue on?
What parent has the faith, the energy, the determination to jump through these barriers when the government is framing it that this is easier? I don't understand, and I'm trying it. Again, this is just my shared perspective. I am incredibly happy. I'm going to give the caveat again. I'm incredibly happy that those children that do not have any access to any kind of services right now is getting that. I just don't understand why this way.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about these barriers, we continue to talk about even being able to access the disability tax credit that you need to have to get the supplement. So we always come back to our Ollie example.
Yeah.
70% of autistic kids are essentially the Ollies.
Yeah.
And okay, so we look at these Ollies, they no longer will receive the benefit. We know that.
Mhm.
Level 1, level 2, maybe with no intellectual disability.
Correct.
They are not receiving the benefit. And so they're solely dependent on this supplement. And now you're telling the families, okay, you need to go and get a disability tax credit. But guess what? What do we learn with the disability tax credit?
Okay, this brings me to another point, guys.
So today we learned something about the disability tax credit.
Yeah.
And it changes things a bit.
Well, I think the issue for me is, again, it's not about it's about the framing, guys. Like, I think what's been very difficult for even us as service providers going down and educating ourselves on these 3 programs, we're confused. I was really taken back in doing the research and seeing that they're using the word severe.
Right.
Guys, I'm really conflicted here. Okay, so I'm going to try and loop it back. I'm dyslexic, and so the way that I articulate my points may not be good. So Angela, navigate me if I need to clarify.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. So, guys, if you listen to our last podcast, you know that they're saying about 30% or less of the kiddos get the benefit. That benefit is direct to therapies for children who they say are level 1 or 2 with an intellectual disability or a level 3 autism. When they go and you say, what is a level 3 autism? That is the autism assessments when you're looking through the assessments to determine your child's level, where the assessor uses the words severe. Now, if your child is a level 1 or 2, you'll see words like mildly, somewhat, maybe even a little bit of significantly, but the word severe is usually in a category level 3 autism diagnosis. So they're saying 30% are severe, so 30% are qualify for that benefit. But then they said 85% of parents should qualify
For the supplement.
But that is dependent on the CRA accepting it. That's another thing we're going to get into. That is dependent on the parent applying, which is then dependent on the parent thinking they're eligible.
Right.
So you have to have those criteria in order to even start the DTC process. So think you're eligible, all those things. But now you land on the new updated website for the supplement. And what word do they use in the supplement, Angela?
Severe.
Severe. How can you do that? How can you say that only the severe ones, profoundly impacted by autism, severely impacted by functional categories that the DTC is looking for, will qualify for the DTC? And in the same breath, say that mainly 85% of them will get it, and the only ones that don't get the supplement is because of income. But then say that the severe is the ones that actually qualify for the benefit that only 30% will get. Stick with me. Pick your severe. Is it severe enough to get the disability tax credit or severe enough to get the benefit? Like, pick this. I don't understand the framing, guys. So I'm going to make this very easy for you, and I'm going to tell you what the supplement website from the government currently, they update it all the time, currently as of today, March 17th, says if your child does not have a disability tax credit, you must apply for the Canadian Disability Tax Credit through the CRA. You can apply at any time of year. That's good. Process can take 10 to 15 weeks, which there could take a little bit longer. The process for approval can take 10 to 16 weeks right now. That does not mean the rest of the whole process. The whole process.
No, it's a process. It's going to be a long process.
Yes.
Expect that to take a while.
But the process of being considered does take, like, the initial consideration, 10 to 15 weeks, it's saying. Eligibility is based on, and here's where we're having a little bit of difficulties with the framing. Eligibility is based on severe and prolonged functional impairment, not a diagnosis alone. I'm going to repeat that again. Severe and prolonged functional impairment. So here is my perspective TED Talk right now. I don't understand, and I'm having a really hard time with the fact that when you go to the benefits, the one that we talked about before, so there's 3 programs we're talking about in this autism transition year. And the benefits is the one that we talked about the last time. 30% get that. Those are the ones that are profoundly impacted by autism. They state that the direct pathway is level 1 or level 2 with an intellectual disability, or a level 3. And when you go and you look and you say, hey, what level is my child? Because we don't use levels anymore. A lot of us don't use levels anymore.
We're basing it off of the assessment.
And how you know if your child is a level 3 when assessing your assessment would be to look for words like severe.
Right.
Which means, ergo, level 3 is
severe,
which then would imply to these parents of the non-level 3s, that their child is not severe.
Right. Because they don't receive the benefit. They will not receive the benefit.
Your child is not
qualified
severe enough. Okay.
Exactly. So they're using severe in multiple terms here.
And I think you caught it, though, because when we talked about it earlier, you caught that this is what BC is saying versus the CRA, which is federal, which is Canada-wide. So here can be the distinction, right, is that BC is saying your child must be severe in order to qualify for that 30% benefit. And then they say, but 85% is going to qualify for the supplement. And the supplement states you have to have the DTC, and the DT states through Canada, your child must be severe. So what happens to the parent who lands on this page?
After they were told by the government, your child will qualify for the supplement as long as they have a DTC.
But your child's not severe enough for the benefit, but the supplement says you have to be severe. So the word of the day here, guys, is severe. I don't understand what kind of severe, but this is saying severe and prolonged functional impairment, not a diagnosis alone. So then you would think if the CRA, the Canadian government, the CRA is saying your child is severe and has prolonged functional impairment, why is BC not recognizing that as then 85% of the kids are severe and deserve to have that benefit also? That is what I'm completely conflicted about.
That's the question we need answered.
But why we're saying this here, guys, is not because we are annoyed with the framing. I'm saying it to give you peace and clarity, I hope, in that the proof is in the pudding, okay? And the pudding is that the government here in BC has already stated that they believe with their research that 85% or more will qualify for this supplement. They were also stating that they think the 15% that wouldn't qualify is because they have an increased income threshold, household threshold. So what they're saying is most qualify, okay? What they're not saying is most will be accepted. What they're not saying is most will have an approved DTC. Now, we know, and doing our research and in helping families, is 95% of those that do an application through a DTC expert, 95% are accepted. And that's not because DTC experts cherry pick severe.
Yeah.
It is because it is the way that the CRA adjudicates is based on what they need to know about your kiddo. They don't know about your kiddo. So going back to the severe statement, again, I want to state your child should qualify for the DTC, and why I am concerned about this website and language.
The language.
Is I am terrified that you parents who do not yet have a DTC is going to land on this page and they've already decided their child is not severe enough for the benefit. Yeah. They see the word severe and they don't even apply.
Yeah. It makes me think, this family that's going, well, the BC government just told me my child is not autistic enough.
My Ollie isn't severe enough.
They're not autistic enough to receive the benefit, but now I need to go and get the disability tax credit.
And I need to prove my child is severe.
And now what do? They're not severe enough.
And to some degree, how dare we frame this as, hey, families, this is an easier program. You asked for this. You wanted ease. We gave it to you. There is flexibility. How dare you say that? Can we talk about how hard it is just to get the diagnosis for these parents? And Angela and I sat with families last week, and I'm not going to get emotional in saying this. Probably will. Going to try not to. It's an emotional process to then go through the DTC, because as we are seeing here, we have to frame and discuss to the CRA how our child has severe and prolonged functional impairment in order to get the supplement, which means a hoop, a barrier, emotional upheaval. How can we frame this as easy, accessible?
It's so disappointing. It is so disappointing that our government is doing this, that they're insisting that we have the disability tax credit. And then they're insisting that families relive this. For some families, the amount of trauma that this brings up, you're looking at your child's worst moments and you're reliving them to a DTC expert, to us, to try to make sure that your child is going to be, funded so that they can continue on with their necessary therapies. And it's heartbreaking. The families we've been working with, it is absolutely heartbreaking to hear them talk about, again, their worst days. They've had to do this for the assessment. They've had to advocate for schools.
Yep.
They've had to advocate for every single area of their life.
Yep.
And this is just another
And we're working,
area.
and we're working in response to what's happening. Awesome Match created Awesome DTC program because we want to make sure that the parents get as best chance at getting everything they can for their child once this transition happens. And I got to say, we've been working with Charlene, a DTC expert. She's absolutely amazing and super sweet. And what we're learning is come on, guys, I know that we're sitting here saying, the government said my child isn't severe enough. They're an Ollie. I promise you, from the DTC perspective, they probably are. I said promise and probably. I don't mean that to be contradicting. 95% are eligible for it. That does not mean 95% are approved for it. It's in the framing. And I don't mean to say that you say anything that isn't true. Your child probably is severely impacted in their functional abilities. And what the CRA is looking for is examples of how often in their day they're impacted, on
how
their
it
worst
how
day.
it looks in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, how do they function, and why should an adjudicator that has never met your family look at a form and say that this is it? So that goes to our next segment, guys, on the kind of like some issues that we're having in terms of being accepted. So there's two things we kind of talked about
Yeah.
earlier, Angela. The number one is that um, doctors are not doctors have gone to medical school, not to CRA fill out paperwork school, respectfully. And so what we have heard happen is the some patients are going to some parents are going to the doctors, and they're saying, hey, can you fill out my DTC form? And the doctor's saying,
Here.
you fill it out and bring it back. And you, Angela, didn't you fill out yours kind of, or you had to go back how many times?
I went back 3 times
Yeah.
to my doctor to make sure it was filled out properly.
And you had to do a severe amount of
I
homework.
did so much homework before the fact to try to make sure that my son got the support he needed. And yeah, the
'Cause your
doctor.
son's an Ollie, right?
My son's an Ollie.
And he was accepted.
And he was accepted. Yes. And it's so hard because the doctors are not trained on how to fill out this paperwork. And a lot of the time, like you were saying, the doctors are going, okay, you fill it out and then I'll come and sign it. If they sign it.
So now that is making sure the eligibility is now based on if the parent knows the language the CRA is looking for. Not only is that dangerous, but then also what has been happening, what we have noticed is doctors don't know, again, I'm saying this very respectfully, don't know how to fill. I really am. I love doctors. They're very valuable and we need them, and they're super educated. But this section is different, right?
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is they fill out the paperwork. If they're not asking the parent to do it themselves, they're filling out the paperwork. That paperwork is going into the CRA and it's being denied. And so what does that teach the doctor? The doctor fills out the form. And a lot of parents are saying, hey, I already went to my doctor. My doctor said my child won't qualify.
Yeah.
Hey, I already went to my doctor. My doctor said
so
this.
they didn't even start the process.
Yeah.
They haven't even started.
And the parent perspective is?
They're not going to get qualified. They're not. There's a denial.
But where did that perspective come from? Could that perspective have, and I'm curious, have come from? The perspective could have come from, doctor goes and fills out the form. The form is not filled out to the lingo that the CRA adjudicator needs. And then the DTC is denied. Parent goes back to the doctor and shares, your DTC was denied. And doctor perspective is then that you didn't meet the criteria. Yeah. And it wasn't that you didn't meet that criteria. It's that the form didn't articulate what the CRA adjudicator needed to see in order to make an official diagnosis. And the problem is that they're not denying these kiddos and then sending a sheet afterwards that says, here is the reasons why we've denied you.
Yeah.
They're leaving it in the dark. So now the parent perspective is, my child has been denied. My child is not severe enough.
Yep.
What's the point? So here we are framing this supplement, guys, as the replacement for AFU with all of these barriers. A barrier of getting your doctor to sign it, a barrier of knowing the lingo, a barrier of understanding if your child qualifies with the word severe. All of these barriers. And what rattles my bones is that... really rattles my bones is they're saying, hey guys, for the purposes of AFU use, you can get your doctor to fill out the form and you'll be reimbursed up to $300. But we won't allow you to use the AFU funds to get a DTC expert to fill it out. Why is that? Is because the DTC experts get 95% approval and the doctors don't? If they truly want you to get that DTC because that unlocks what is a replacement for AFU, then wouldn't they help you? And while they want to manage your AFU to make sure that you use it for therapy, which I agree with, we are a therapy company. We are here for it. I'm really perplexed and puzzled by the fact that they say, hey, but next year you get the supplement. You wanted flexibility. Here's your flexibility. You can use that supplement on anything. You can use that supplement on Cheetos. You can use that supplement on gas. You can use it on therapy, respite, any kind of safe things, sensory issues, DTC. You can use it however you want. But this year,
no.
Nah. My love letter to you parents is, the BC government has framed this beautifully. Hey guys, here's more money. Hey guys, we're putting so much money in.
We're removing barriers by going deposit. We're depositing it right into your account.
We're giving you choice. But not choice on if you have to talk to your ex-spouse if there's some things going there. Not choice on how to access those funds. Not choice on how much you get. Not choice if service providers are going to be here for you because they can afford to keep the doors open and the lights on. I think that there is a lot that is excluded from this conversation with the government. We're sharing our perspectives today, not to scare you, but to inspire you. Please take action. If you do not have your DTC yet, please go and talk to a DTC expert, whether that's Awesome DTC or that's another DTC expert.
Do your homework.
Do your homework.
Read up as much as you can.
And if you can't, hire someone that can.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of companies out there that do beautiful work that can help you despite your financial situation right now. There are options. I think it is so incredibly imperative that you learn how to do it correctly the first time, or you could be in a wait list. That's a lot longer if you have to appeal or if you have to wait it out to reapply, because that timeline is we're sitting here, guys, and we're like, it's March. We have a whole year. Calm down. You blink.
Yeah.
You blink.
Well, when you're looking at the wait times, you're waiting for 4 months to even get a response back.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting and you're like, oh, I'll do it in the fall. Oh, I'll do it in the winter. You're running out of time. And who knows what the wait lists are going to be, or the wait time is going to be like come that point. And one thing I will promise parents is when you get that approval and you're able to get that back pay for the up to 10 years potentially, it is life-changing money. That money you can use towards therapy. Yeah. You can start your child's registered disability savings plan and start preparing them for their future. This is so important for families to understand, because your child is depending on you to do these things. And it's hard work now, but it's so, so worth it. I promise you.
In this segment, I just want to go over what the DTC is and what it truly unlocks, because I think a lot of people are a little confused.
Yep.
Yeah. And the DTC in itself is kind of like, it's really cool in that it's, one form that goes in and one adjudication process that unlocks many possibilities.
Yes.
And I just want to talk about the three most common ones. There's additional ones, but I just want to talk about the three most common ones that unlocks.
For in this moment right now.
In this moment right now for families. So getting into it, I'll try and do it in unlock order and most common order. Please understand, I'm not the CRA. I do not know your household income. I'm going to talk about averages.
It's definitely going to change depending on your household income, the length of time your child has been affected. Yeah. Etc.
And good news, just a little spoiler alert, whether you're a high income household or a low income household, you qualify for one of these three programs, and you are going to see a benefit either way of this. So we'll talk about the first one, it unlocks. So once they approve you, so right now, this website is saying 10 to 15 weeks for approval. We have heard up to 16 weeks, but that's semantics. Let's say, right now we're in March. Let's say you apply, you get all your paperwork done. It's in April. You'll be accepted by around August, September. Now, that acceptance is your approval. Check, got it. Now that door unlocks. It unlocked door number one. So behind door number one, we have the child disability benefit, not to be confused with the BC Child and Youth Disability Benefit.
Couldn't they change up the terminology here? Why are we using child disability benefit for every single program?
At least in BC, they put BC and youth in the title.
Okay.
So you got the federal Canada Child Disability Benefit. Now, to you folks that make under $80,000 a year in your household, that automatically unlocks $284 per month. And it automatically adjusts to the current tax year and 2 prior tax years. So that could be anywhere between 24 and 36 months worth at $284 a month, depending on your child's age. Now, if your child's 3 and was just diagnosed, that's a different story. So it's going back to when the functional, what they're looking for in terms of like the functional activity of the child being impaired.
It's the date that is on the disability tax credit
form. Yeah, you have to have it on your form.
This is one of those moments where it's like the doctor doesn't maybe understand how to fill out the paperwork, because if the doctor puts in the diagnosis date instead of the date of birth because
Yeah.
let's face it, your child was autistic the day they were born. This is not something that just happens out of thin air.
Right.
So that is the date they're going off of. So please, please, please make sure your doctor puts in the date of birth.
So yeah, 100%. Thank you for that. So if you are under 80,000, this will automatically unlock 2 and more years of that 284. Right now, if you were to do it right now, that unlocks around $10,000. So guys, it's $10,000. That's what it unlocks. It's door number 1. Now, door number 1 unlocks just like the rest of the doors is when you have the approval. However, the payout is different. So the payout for that is about 6 to 8 weeks
Right.
after the acceptance. So you'll see the first payment around September, October-ish. Now, the second door unlocks is your annual income tax is different now. They have to recalculate and reassess that.
Yeah.
So what once looked like maybe for a household that made, so going back before I cap that first one, the amount goes down the more your household makes. So that one, if you are high earning household, you'll see that level of 284 go down.
Right.
So this is good for lower and middle income families. Now to the second door
Still
unlocks.
important, though,
Still important. The middle door this unlocks, door number 2, is your annual income tax reassessment. For
Yes.
those who contribute more than 30 or 40,000 per year into your employment income, that now unlocks this door for reassessment. And if you make over 40,000 a year in employment income at its simplest, again, these are just estimates at its simplest, you will be reassessed in how much you have overpaid in taxes.
Yes.
Because your annual income should be considered lower because of that tax credit.
So for those high income earners, this is where it's going to pay off for you.
This is about $3,000-ish per year. And that one automatically goes back 10 years.
No, it goes back 2 years. You have to ask.
Right, but you can ask on the form. It'll look on the form.
Yes.
Whereas in the other one, sorry to go back to number 1 because I didn't clarify this. It did go back 2 tax years plus the current. It can go back 10. You do have to do an additional step where you ask afterwards
Yes.
for it to consider back to 10. So this is why it's important you work with a DTC expert. They can go over all of these nuances
Yes.
because what the CRA automatically does and what you have to request is a different story. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you had door number 1, 10,000. You have door number 2, the annual income tax. That is going to be assessed about 20 weeks after the approval.
It takes a long time.
So if you were approved in August, you're looking at about Christmas time or the new year before you'll see that. But that can be, depending on the age of your child and how long we can prove the functional assessment that they're looking for. That could be 10 years at $3,000 a year. That could be up to $30,000.
It's life-changing. It's
life-changing
life-changing money. And if, especially in today's world where we're seeing all these changes in funding,
You're going to need that.
use that funding towards the therapy.
Yeah.
Use it towards the disability savings.
And a lot of parents too, just to put it out there, a lot of parents too, they go through this process and they realize that they too are eligible for the disability tax credit, which is really interesting because that unlocks even more for their family and it really does help them. But going on to unlocking door number 3, that is what we are here for today, guys. That is to talk about the new BC Child and Youth Disability Supplement,
Yes.
the one that starts in July 2027. We dropped the calculator below for you to figure out what that looks like. That starts in July 2027, but this DTC unlocks it. So those are your 3 doors it unlocks, guys.
Yes.
Those are when you're going to be able to expect the payments as well and what you can expect. Please, with all my heart, do your homework or work with an expert.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to talk a quick bit about what the DTC actually looks like, what you're looking for when filling out the disability tax credit.
Okay.
So the CRA is going to want to see, they're going to want to see example situations, your daily life of how your child is affected 90% of the time, and it may take them 3 times longer than what a typical peer would take.
Mm-hmm.
So, say it's something as simple as putting their bag away for after school.
Mm-hmm.
You've asked them, is this something, have they forgotten multiple times that you asked them?
Mm-hmm.
Is it taking them 3 times longer? Is there an impairment there? And so those are the types of things that we look at, that the CRA are looking at
So
least.
going back to that, just to cap it, guys, the word severe that they're using in the BC website for the supplement, the word they use severe, that is tagged to what the federal disability tax credit is asking for. And just to remind us that your child most likely qualifies for it.
Yes.
The eligibility, though, the eligibility is there. It doesn't mean the approval is there.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And we wish everyone the very best. And we're going to be here next week doing the next one about the community centers. We are here to dissect what is happening here in BC, and we are hoping to simplify things. I know our perspectives are a little strong. I'm not sure if you share it with us, but if you do share this perspective, our perspective, or if you don't, drop us a comment. We want to start talking to you guys, and we want to get this conversation going. It's pretty serious, the way that this is being framed. Is just really lighthearted, and people are not taking action right now without knowing. And we're encouraging you to take action, because with action is power, and with having that action, you will be best prepared. So stay awesome.